They're not gonna claim something back and forth, so you can big turn. Ready back? Let's get going again. My name is Kyle Robinson, as Dr. Whitlack said, I've been introduced a couple times. You probably noticed me in one or two of the pictures on the guy with no hair. Right? There were two of us there. One was the other one, but I've been involved with energy efficiency for the last 5 or 6 years. I got to thinking the other day, I said, when did I first really start on this path? And my first memory was around 6 years old, but it happened so often when I was a child. I would be in my bedroom, I come out of my bedroom, just start walking down the hall to the kitchen. My dad would say, "Whoa, I'm gonna turn off that transient flash of light." You guys ever hear that from your parents? I'm not made of money. So that was my first experience. And you might think, well, was my dad an environmentalist? Was he a person that was concerned about the environment? No. We would change the oil and we would go across the street and dump that oil into what we call the bar ditch. I'm not sure why they call it the bar ditch, but we always call it the bar ditch. You go dump that oil. So we would dump it right into the wastewater or whatever was running in the stream at that time. But I got involved with Lean Six Sigma right around 2000 at another company in Kansas. And then that's been grown into efficiency. It's all wrapped around the same things. Efficiency, how do we do more with less? How do we save money? So my aspect of this and my background is coming from how do we do it faster, quicker, more efficiently, and cheaper? Okay, so we're gonna like Dr. Woodblack said, we're gonna jump into, please help me with this. I'm technically challenged. Is this the one?
Yeah.
No, I'm already starting off the wrong side. It's the other. Ah, okay. You're gonna tie me to this then. Okay. So I'm gonna get into the kind of like Dr. Woodblack said, the nuts and bolts of what happens during an energy audit. She went over several things, and I'm gonna draw a couple of analogies, and it's easy to get confused and overwhelmed. I know that. I still struggle with that at times. And when I explain what I do, we are Oklahoma State University, and they say, well, is that ITAC? Oh, yeah, it is. Was that REACT for rule? Yeah, it is. Is it GPCOE? Yeah, it is. The way I picture it and try to explain it to other people is there are several ITAC industrial training and assessment centers across the US. Dr. Woodblack showed you a map and it showed all of those in our region. I think there's something like 13 now, but always growing as the expansion goes on through the Department of Energy. Those were existing and are becoming new ITAC centers. We've been an ITAC center, you've heard this a few times, for 40 years. There are best practices that have been developed and are being developed. And what the Department of Energy said in general, I'm just assuming this, they said, you know what, let's gather these together and let's try to share information so that we get the best practices. We help the new ITAC centers. So my analogy here is like we're franchising the ITAC system, okay? And if you picture, we're lucky enough to have a company store in a way that we have an experimental group that's been around for 40 years, mind you. It's not a test kitchen, but we can try out ideas. We can document things. We have processes. We have procedures. We can now replicate that, just like a franchisee or franchise owner, replicate that in other areas, get information back from those other areas. That's the GPCOE. That's the big umbrella for sharing, collaborating, establishing partnerships, okay? So far so good. Underneath OSU as well, we have the Industrial Training and Assessment Center. Commercial, manufacturing audits, okay? We'll do 25 audits this year, roughly program year, on that program, 15 manufacturing, 10 commercial. We're partnering with NOC to do the commercial side of that. We also have a rural energy assessment center. And that, oh, that's a nice tune. We also have a rural energy assessment center. That center supports the USDA REAP program, Rural Energy for America program. The nice thing is all of our audits follow the same process. we do it the same way. We do it for different organizations. The qualifications are different depending on what size business, type of business, location of business. But they all follow this general process, okay? Preliminary information, I will go over this in detail. This is a 5-step process. I'm going to break it down and put those first two together because we asked for the information right up front. My other analogy here is going to the doctor. I'm borrowing this from Dr. Vora. It's very similar to you going to the doctor and trying to figure out what's wrong with you. If you have a sore leg, for example, you don't need to give the doctor a lot of information about your family history, about, they always ask for how tall are you, what's your weight, things like that. I decided that I'm gonna forget about my weight. I'm gonna work on my height. That's the main thing. I'm gonna try to get in that right category there. They ask a lot of information. We always walk this line between, we want to know everything and we want them to give us everything at the beginning. But if you're going in there for a sore leg or for a specific pain, we walk that line between, do we ask for a whole lot of information or do we just get the needed information? A lot of the information we gather is for our report at the very end. That's the first 2 steps here. Then we do the plant visit. That's I'll call it the fun part of our job. After that, we do an assessment report, and then we do a follow-up. We'll go into some detail on this. So far, so good, everybody? Process is the same again. Anytime we do the audits, we follow this same high-level process. This is simplified. This is, oh, there we go. It delays a little bit. It's kind of like going to the doctor. What does the doctor do? He assesses what you're doing. He listens to you a little bit. He prescribes something, whether surgery, medicine, whatever it might be, and he might do a follow-up. Hey, that's a 3-step process. Could I be a doctor? Not quite. This is the detailed process. I'm not going to go through every single box here. You're not expected to read it or to sit while I go through it. There's a lot to what happens behind the scenes. But to keep it in your minds and keep it straight, all of our processes follow that same 5-step process. Okay? Frankie, I don't like this going back and forth. This is messing with me a little bit. This is kind of a repeat of what Frankie had said. I'm not going to go into this in great detail. This is, again, how tall are you? What's your weight? What's your family history? Things like that. We need to know some background. We do struggle, like Frankie said, with the billing information is one of those we struggle with. We also just struggle with getting a hold of the right person that has the right information. But again, we need that information because that allows us to do a comprehensive report that will give you meaningful recommendations. The whole goal of this is to give you recommendations that you will implement. If we go in and there was a slide that said, we're in the idea business. I love that. We're in the idea business. We give you an idea. We go do this. That's nice. That's fun. That's something we like to give people is great ideas. If they don't implement those ideas, they're not going to save any energy. Okay. So let's gather a lot of information. This is a data collection form. Frankie mentioned that briefly. It's a form that we send out via email. It's a fillable PDF form. I recently changed this and I added more detail. Again, that line of how much do we need and how much can we get on site? We have to balance that. Some people will say if you're a small business and you have one person that manages your HVAC system and all your facilities, they likely don't have time to give us a detailed equipment list with the manufacturer, the age, things like that. Do we ask for it? Yeah, we ask for it. But sometimes we have to go on site and kind of build that as we walk through. Again, if you have a problem with a certain area, a certain building, it's too hot, it's too cold in this certain area, we want to focus in on what's important to you. We may not need to know about all your production equipment. But again, fine line that this is where we get into some of the nuances is how much information do you need? It depends. So we ask for a lot of things. We get that. We also get the utility bills and we ask for that at the same time. People that are involved in this first one is typically the maintenance manager, business development people. If we ask people, especially for the billing analysis, if we ask them, how much do you spend on bills? A lot of times we're talking to the plant manager, maybe we're talking to the maintenance manager. They may not know. I didn't know at the place that I worked for 20+ years. I never had to know. We have them go to their finance group, find out who pays the bills. Can we get a copy of all the bills? We want detailed information off those bills, not just how much it costs you, okay? You may be hit with a storm recovery charge on your bills. It may be a peak demand charge. We want to know all of those line items because that gives us diagnostic information that helps us figure out what we can do to help you save money on your bill. Okay, it's not just because we're just asking you more and more information. Okay, so far so good. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle. We're good. The site plant visit. So, oh, let me back up on the other slide. Sorry. This, an overall timeline, this could take 2 to 3 weeks. It could take 2 or 3 months. It depends on the motivation level of the client and what resources they have in place. We have a lot of clients. Somebody asked, where do we get our clients? Do we get them from the utilities? Where does that come from? We get them from all of our partners. We get phone calls, we get emails, which is great. Dr. Vorth has developed partnerships where people understand what we do and how we do it. Many do, but they're out there asking for these energy audits. But we have to then put them in a hopper. We send them out information for data gathering purposes for the audit. And then once they give that to us, again, could take a couple of weeks, could take a week, could take 2 months. Once they give it to us, then we start talking about scheduling their on-site audit. We used to schedule it very quickly. First phone call, hey, we need an audit. You know what? We can get you in 2 weeks. Great. Send us some information. I'll do that. Well, we schedule it. We go out there. We get the students out there. We show up. We're here. We start asking about some of the data. And we haven't gotten that yet. So what we would do is go ahead and audit. But guess what? The time to do that assessment report, you're on way out. So we found to meet our 60-day requirement for the Department of Energy, we're shifting that to the beginning of the process instead of at the end of the process. That's allowing us to shorten that time to get a report out. Again, same information, we're just shifting when we ask for it, and we're putting up some gates in there that we don't pass that gate until we get certain types of information, basic information, okay? All right, plant visit. I could go on and on and on and on and on about this. We go, and then I'm going to have you guys do just a quick exercise. How are we doing on time? I've got 45 minutes. I've got an hour and 45 minutes left. Is that right, Dr. Woodblack? 45 minutes. Perfect. Plant visit, obviously, we go out and we visit the site. Dr. Woodblack said, you know, here's some of the things that we might see, that she was perfectly accurate in what she explained. We take students, graduate, and some undergraduate students with us. So check out a van, load up the students, we leave, we drive, we go to the plant. What do you think one of the issues is with this process so far?
Who's gonna buy lunch?
Who's gonna buy lunch? Is that what you said?
Yeah, you got the students, you know.
You know what? That is great. That's a tricky subject here, and I'll go into a little bit of. We'd love for them to provide lunch.
Yeah.
For 2 reasons.
But they don't have any money.
Broke students. That's one reason. The other one is it allows us to have a lunch. We also don't want to go in as kind of beggars and go, oh, here, can you? We're kind of hungry, or do you have some pizza or something? So we position it in the invitation as, in order to have a working lunch, it would be nice if you could provide lunch, but we can grab lunch at a local restaurant. We have some dietary restrictions for some of our international students, but thanks, that is who's going to buy lunch? That's a good question. State of Oklahoma is pretty large. This takes 5 to 7 hours on a in-depth audit of a manufacturing site. We've gone to Tom, Oklahoma. You know where Tom is? Thank you. I have water here.
Oh, you do?
I'm just refusing to drink it for some reason. I didn't think I'd be coffee. Tom, Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma, about 4 hours from Stillwater, okay? Again, we load up in a van, it's kind of a party. We also went to Duke, Oklahoma.
Duke.
Duke down by Altus. And we've gone to Woodward, we've done some of ours, anywhere in the state of Kansas and primary, I'm sorry. All right, spent 25 years in Kansas. Oklahoma, anywhere in the state, we go do crossover into Arkansas. By the time we get up at a decent time and get loaded up and get there, we're driving there, we're turning around pretty quickly after a quick audit. We can't spend the night, but typically these are smaller locations and we do a real good job of trying to get the data that we can, all the data we possibly can ahead of time. So that when we're on site, we're just verifying what we've already gotten data on. So obviously we have logistical issues with trying to do this. Again, we'll go back to the GPCOE. How are we going to make this better, faster, easier, more efficient for everybody? We're going to develop a workforce. Ideally, in Tom, Oklahoma, Duke, Oklahoma, anywhere across the 13 state region, somebody can call up and say, we'd love to have an energy audit. We can say, you know what, there's somebody in your area who's been trained to collect the data. They can go out, collect the data. We can help analyze the data. They can collect the data. They can analyze the data. Maybe it's an HVAC supplier that uses energy efficiency as a way to sell some of their products. Great, they understand energy efficiency, they understand some of the grant programs, they understand all the data that they're collecting. It's another way that we can leverage a workforce, grow a workforce that helps everybody save energy. Harmon, Oklahoma, which is south of Woodward, they called up and they said, we can't find anybody to do an energy audit. We've called the utility, we've called everybody we can think of. And finally, online searches, they found us. And hopefully we'll be able to do an audit. But you can see that turns into a big issue. And the more people that want and need energy audits, the bigger issue that becomes. We are doing some things to help ease some of this, doing a mobile application to collect some of the data that the users themselves can collect the data, upload it. We can help them analyze it over the phone, or they can do some analysis themselves. We're using drone technology. We're doing a lot of things. Technology is a piece of it, but the other major piece is workforce development. I'll layer that on top of this. What are we doing at an energy audit? Assessment report. This is where, and Frankie, I know mentioned, what's your labor rate? But we ask that because we want to know what's the return on investment. We look for 3 different sources of capital project expenditures like HVAC systems. We look for a good mix of high, medium, low. What are the costs? We also do an estimate of how much labor it's going to take to install that. And then we put an ROI together, payback period. I guess we do a payback period instead of return on investment. But that comes out. Here's a list of recommendations. There's several in here. I won't go into them. One of the things I want you guys to do, let's take about 10 minutes. But Marcy, can I get you to move up here, please? This is an unplanned exercise that I didn't tell Frankie or secretary back to work. You can move up here. What I want you guys to do is just take about 5 minutes and do 2 things. Think about where you work, where you live, this building, and come up with 2 or 3 things that you can think of for saving energy. Could be clients you have, could be, again, residential, commercial, Vance Air Force Base, clients. Take a few minutes to do that. And also, so 3 things that you could find at a place for energy efficiency, and then a question that you guys have as a group. Okay, 5 minutes. Go.
Yeah. Lighting.
So it's swap them out.
And it is not.
You got us. You have, This one.
Also, it turned out. Where are you guys at? So, Wonka, okay. So I'm like a huge heart.
Water, there's sometimes there's a lot of rain, some you really hear out there, but most of these things, there's probably better, we got the time. So, you know, you just put all the.
So we have actually two different water meters. One. And then can you move?
No, no. We can reclaim our space. And we use it, that's stuff coming out.
Centrifusion, yeah.
Stuff coming into the concrete.
So, now we're like. Great energy.
All good.
It's really quite good. I would say that. What, rising or function?
We're doing something, doing like what? Achieving. That's all.
So that could, that would be so, okay, that's.
This one we were kids. Yeah, so that has been interesting.
You guys have. Yeah, should a little bit more coverage than we do over here.
Not sound hard. Yes, a little bit. Yeah, we do a lot more.
Well, and then.
Okay.
It's one of those where like you get my.
So one more minute, no less than a minute.
So that's what we've worked in. Or.
So we consistent.
It's going on a little bit.
Yeah. Don't want to throw money in the section, but if we can make the.
You guys about ready? First, we're gonna ask you what you come up with. Guys want to start?
Yeah, so kind of more than three things on the property, so, what could you look at? Obviously HVAC.
Right,
Here.
and I had a discussion about that.
What can you seal? Windows, cracks, doors, gaps? And then water efficiency, is there opportunities for low flow systems to be installed? You know,
That's a great one.
so flushing toilet, that sort
Right.
of stuff. And then our question was, what are the 3 top energy recommendations that you guys make?
Oh, my goodness, that's a great question. I'd say, and Dr. Vora, you can jump in here, of course, at any time. Lighting, if they haven't already. HVAC, more efficient HVAC, depending again on the business, and if it's a production facility, we'll look at all the production processes. But just generically is the lighting, the HVAC, and you mentioned the other one that's a pretty high one, and that's the ceiling, doors, windows. Windows have a pretty high payback or pretty long payback period. But you can do door seals, you can shade windows, you can do things like that that help tremendously. So it doesn't have to be a big capital expenditure, it can be something pretty quick and easy. And think of your homes as well, that's a great example of where are you using energy, maybe it's changing your, when you run your dishwasher, when you run your dryer, things like that. We also do a lot of, on-demand water heaters. Those are good, a good recommendation for it. Dr. Bohr?
I think the very first thing is energy mapping, right? Like if you pay something, where the money goes. Right? Then
Yeah.
break down the system by, how much for water, how much for HVAC, how much for heating and cooling, how much is for some boiler, air compressor, whatever. Based on your best knowledge, food bank, they keep saying everybody rule, where my money goes more, right? If I find a big fish, say example, 80% goes here, I target that, forget about everything else at that moment, and see what I can do in the system wide. With a systematically logical, save that money, go to the second item. Go to the third item, go to the fourth item.
And just ideally roll that back into the budget so that you can fund additional capital and larger money. Plans. Thank you. What did you come up with? Thank you so much for the question too. It's a great question.
So we're working on an old barn that has been turned into a wedding venue. So it is a century-old barn, and we have.
No opportunities there, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's, no insulation, so that's no good. We are also not well sealed, so there is some very easy low-hanging fruit. It is then gonna be that question of determining how to quantify the potential savings from doing that ceiling project. It is also a very time-based business that people are mostly getting married on the weekends, so
Right.
we don't necessarily need to have a barn when we're not, so you just putting in a very basic programmable thermostat will put in a major return on investment. I
Right.
imagine that'll pay for itself in about a month.
Yeah. Very quick payback on things like that. Again, not hard, but you have to really kind of look at it. We always used to say, you have to look at it with energy eyes, put on energy glasses. I can tell some of our students, they'll come back and they'll go, oh, Dad, I can't go in the Hobby Lobby without looking at their lights now. They're driving me crazy. They've got fluorescent. So again, one thing here is just to build that awareness. And once you start looking for things, then you tend to find more and more things. And our students are very much into that. It's kind of treasure hunt, what we call it at times. We're looking for things. It's great. Others?
The question is, who do we need to talk to start discussions?
Probably Dr. Moore or myself. Good place to start. We have a place on our website that you can go to and you can fill out a little form. Put a quick email, we'll get you to us and we'll start discussing. Again, step one is, do you slot into any of our existing programs? Ideally, it's, hey, you know what? There's a program that exists, we get funded from a program, say from DOE or USDA, then we are able to provide help to somebody who can then apply for grants and loans through that same organization.
Looking at REAP grants.
Yep, perfect application there.
We're
You're in it?
We're about, so, about 10 minutes down the road. off
Okay,
the west.
rural area.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, most of Oklahoma is a rural area. Great program. So let's talk to you about that. We do 12 audits per program year.
Okay.
Per week. Okay. We're gonna go through the other table. Did you guys talk about this or do you have another topic that? I'm putting everybody on the spot. I should have asked first, who's gonna be the spokesperson?
Well, Dr. Warren needed a lot of help, so we spent much more time.
Kind of prompting him to give you ideas.
Really, windows, we talked about a lot of efficiencies in windows.
So tell what which facility you're talking, PCC, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So TCC facilities.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about space utilization.
You know, we see a lot of, can they close off the space? We went to a site in Muskogee and they said, oh my gosh, and we try to ask, this is another big plus about going on site. We talk to the people that are working the front desk, that are working the production line. We said, what do you guys think? Does it get too hot or too cold? Oh my gosh, yes. You know, this or this, floor, heaters and fans, personal heaters and fans are another energy saver that we could help eliminate. But what they were having a problem with is they said, in the middle of winter, you know, we had a long line of people coming through the museum. They line up right here and the north wind, those windows there, they just, and it cools off the whole building. We said, well, how about if you just put a double door partition or a partition of some sort right here? Now, is that gonna cost them a lot of money? No, but it's gonna increase the efficiency of their heating and cooling and it's gonna save them some of that discomfort. So again, thank you. Space utilization and zoning is another big
And
one.
the one thing, HVAC and lighting is psychological effect as well. So is comfort. It's not just turning on and off like air compressor or refrigerator, it is comforting some. So if you are a manufacturing companies or you are like teaching the students in a lab or a classroom, you have to make sure that we are not compromising on comfort level. Because you may have people leaving your job, but they don't want to work on a hot day or cold day in the office, and they want comfort. Second thing, the lights. Sometimes like you change this regular light to LED lights, you automatically see a reduction in heat zone because regular lights produce a heat. Now your HVAC is actually cooling them down as well. But now I'm also you have to cool that. Heat that. Ecological side also, we run some studies, we found that without compromising what you can say. So sometimes on paper you find some solution, but in reality you have a compromise solution, which covers both. And sometimes like you don't make a decision, build on your team, let them have a communication with you. As a group, you make a decision, it will stay there for you. Otherwise, what you say, whenever you go, it will switch off. But when you leave, it will switch on. Because you don't buy your idea. You buy the idea, which keep it.
That's a good point. A lot of this is cultural. A lot of this is low cost, no cost. You can typically get people behind you if you're very open. And we try to tell people, hey, if we're walking through, people are going, where are they? I don't know. Where are they? I don't know. They're all undershare, so I don't know where they're from. Are they from OSU? I don't know. We try to say, we're an energy audit team and we're here to look for energy efficiencies. Do you have any ideas in your area? Again, try to get them involved, have the management say, we're doing this, we're doing it with you, not to you. Okay, thank you for that. I don't know if there's anything else on this slide, just got a couple more slides. Implementation survey, we call in about a year, 9 months to a year, and we check on, have you implemented those things that we have on our recommendation from your report? That's another metric that we supply through the Department of Energy. Again, it doesn't do us any good to recommend a whole bunch of things. We'd recommend things all day long, 20, 30, 40 things. We want to see how many of those things you actually implemented. If you didn't implement them, why? We've got a little checklist that says, you know, maybe it was budget, maybe it was focused on other things, maybe it was expansion or whatever it might be. We also try to ask, we don't always do this, but we try to ask for a quote or referral. And sometimes clients will come back for other follow-up. So after we've done the audit, there was a client recently that said, you know what, you guys did an audit 3 years ago, you didn't mention solar. Solar is a big one on our list now because of the federal tax rebates that are available and the incentives through manufacturers. So they said, it's not in our report. We need your report to apply for the grant. Can you add that? Sure, let's take a look at it. We pull the data, we write up another addendum to the report. They can then file that. So we get a lot of follow-up questions that people remember us, they ask us other questions, we do the research and get back with them. So it's not just audit, see you later. We call back, we get information, other people ask questions about what we can help them with. Any other questions, comments? Anything that's
Do you help provide resources of where we can look for grants and?
we do? And that's the ones, and I'll just give you kind of a quick overview. There's an implementation grant that's available through the Department of Energy. It uses our reports and you apply with our reports attached. It's a very good grant program. They review it quarterly. It can offset, I would say, up to $300,000 of a qualified project. You can apply every quarter if you have multiple projects coming down. Another one is the REAP grant. That does, currently it's 50% if you're a small business in a rural area or you're an agribusiness on the production side. So those are two, and there are always grants coming up, and we try to be abreast of what's happening so that we can give the recommendations to the clients. Again, we want you to implement it, take advantage of those things. There's also utility rebates and incentives at times. Again, that's another area that you can look and say, you know, do you have anything that offsets, say, a compressor or windows or door seals? Cody, did you have a question?
Yeah, going back to the 1 year follow-up call, do you see at all or often companies that didn't implement anything that you suggested?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just say, yeah. I mean, that's,
I was just wondering.
how would you, we
That's
see
right.
that our implementation rate over the last 5 years, I think it's gone between 35 and 55% off of our database. That they've implemented something
Right.
on our list. Again, it could have been a very easy, change your filters more often, get on a maintenance program.
I think it's a very important question.
Yeah.
And when I read more about like why people not doing it.
Right.
So generally speaking, like energy audit word, people feel like we are police. You go into the site, investigating something, right? If there's a culture going on in the site, no matter what we say, they will don't do anything. Because the people at the site feel like I'm pinpointing them or challenging with
Criticizing, yeah.
something like that. These consider the hostile kind of activities. We generally avoid that. We want to build the team at the site and we see the benefits out of it. Sometimes we work with somebody like plant manager or maybe a owner of the company. They buy my idea, but they didn't communicate with the team properly. Really speaking, the owner doesn't do much in executing the idea that we have. So really speaking, you have to build a team. So our main goal here is like energy audit is there. We want to consider that, but the first phone call we make or first meeting we do at the pre-audit is to build a team. Who is in it? Who will execute this work? Right? And I saw like if the team does that, I have a more higher 100% implementation. Sometimes they will go beyond what we have. Say, oh, we feel like this is we can do. Sometimes I don't give like a whole 100 recommendation. I just purposely limit myself saying 10 and put like a future opportunities, but don't explain anything, just put a bullet point, just to give them idea that I was done in us. And they are the people who actually call me morning saying email saying, oh, we done this and we're not excited, maybe ask something else, something going on. I like that kind of client where I interact. But there are some places where I have total silence. Even they don't reply to all emails. We don't. So yes, that match, I would say that like.
Foster the commitment there. huh?
Yeah, so it's kind of a commitment. If commitment is not there, I'm giving the idea black and white, like I said, this is good, this is wrong. But it's ultimately the company which should run the idea into reality.
And we encourage them to build that culture and to be more open, but again, sometimes it exists, sometimes we can help move it along, and sometimes they just. I understand people get busy, I'm not gonna criticize them.
Mostly I feel like it's a person move from that can be somewhere else.
Right.
Their
that's
projects are
another-
sitting on the table.
Mhm.
Nobody else knows about it because the communication was not. Many times it's happened that way.
What we're seeing a lot of is that people have a better awareness of sustainability, resilience, energy efficiency, saving, whether you, I'm not gonna get into global warming, I'm not gonna get into politics, but there's just the environment now is better for people to come up with those ideas and to be thinking along those lines to eliminate waste and reduce costs. Also, we see that clients will ask, or your customers may ask you, what are you doing to be more sustainable? We've seen organizations, I don't know, use Vance Air Force Base, the government or a parent company of a company will say, what are you doing at your local site to become more sustainable, to reduce your energy costs, things like that. So we see kind of a push and a pull and a lot of things that are aligning currently that is great for us, but it puts us in this position again. Golly, we can't go everywhere. We can't do everything. So we're spreading the word, we're developing a workforce, we're really positioning ourselves and others to handle this this need, I guess it's out there now.
Yeah, and we don't have a magic wand where we say, yes.
I wish.
You told an idea, but I mean, coming with everything.
Yep.
It's the last 5 years or 10 years, we are blessed, the government is actually putting money on the table as well. In the past, I would say my experience, there's no such money. Company needs to put everything on the table. Now it's not the situation, the government also.
There's a sharing.
And it's ultimately a profit before you sell, that kind of a situation. So you have a multiplication of 1.5 or 2 times. On the table, and then you get profit on what you sell. So it's kind of super benefit, you know.
I don't know if we brought this up through this presentation, but our minimum goal of energy savings is to save and point out recommendations that account for about minimum 10% of their total energy costs. So, and it goes up from there, obviously. If there's a place that needs a lot of help, then it'll go up. But if you can think about our utility costs are X and I can save 10% of that, that's a good return on investment. And our data supports that. We support whatever money we get from the Department of Energy. We return that 11 times, I think, or I forget how it's worded, but it's a very large return on investment.
As a target to achieve. And each student are given a one bigger year. So we make that make sure that we get here until that time, we have to meet again. So we need to go certain amount of audit, each audit, government gives them a credit saying the salary is not honored. And then we need to go back. So they adding them in the resume saying, I done this much audit. They have a story to tell in the interview. They show the number, which is Department of Energy telling them. So it's really a win-win situation for students.
Okay. What's next? Kim, I said you would go over some of this. I'm not gonna read the slide, doggone it. I'm gonna read this paper that's a printout of the slide. So see, I'm improving, right? Monthly webinars. What do we have coming up in the next couple of months for webinars?
So,
And you'll be on our mailing list.
yes,
From the
so first
finance
of all,
team.
thank you for not calling on our table during that exercise.
Oh, I bet you, I'm sorry.
No, we were totally the kids in the back of the classroom talking about it.
I didn't wanna.
So we have a couple of webinars coming up in January, and if you look at that slide that has where they can get on our LinkedIn and.
Yes, it's on the next
And so
slide.
if you'll follow us on social media, you'll get all of these notifications, but you also signed up for our mailing list today, so you'll get those. We have one on January 15th, which is building renewable energy project for underserved communities. And that's Alex Hessinger, who is the co-founder of TribeQuint, that focuses a lot on Native American tribes, but the things that he shares can be, it's not specific to Native American tribes. And then we have another one on January 31st, which is the strategies and technologies of LEAD. With leadership in energy and environmental design, and that's part 2 of a webinar series, but we did record part 1. And so if you want to sign up for part 2, I can email you part 1 to view. And that's Dr. Hebatala Nazmi, and she's actually part of our core team, which you saw on one of those slides. And then we have, now I need to see that previous slide to know. We also have, we're in the process of establishing our industrial advisory board. And kind of what that looks like, establishing the bylaws and things like that. And that's going to be composed of members of industry. And then we are also doing curriculum planning and development, working on micro credentials and sort of pathways to attain those credentials through our webinars and workshops and things. How can you speak to the beta version of mobile application?
Dr. Bork can.
Oh,
How's that? That's his baby, so.
We're doing a lot of things conventional manner, but now we are using technology and adding the data collection through the self-assessment. There are more than 600, that's like 6,000 manufacturers like in Oklahoma itself, and we just cover 25 audits, so it's not enough for us to cover everything. So we're building the app, which is a self-assessment, pre-auditing kind of app, where client can create their own profile, self-paced, and then it's also AI and machine learning tells them what is the best things to do or best practice to do in your system. So you can cover all the low-hanging fruits and something, and you can start with that. If you're stuck somewhere, you can just contact saying, what's the nearby ISC available? Automatically, that ISC will contact you and schedule the audit. So we are actually roll out that sometime soon. So beta version, we are working on it right now. The second year, our project is to actually give out to some clients initial phase and get a feedback and see of that. Ultimately, become a DOE tool, which DOE can roll out to their website, and then everybody gets.
And then we have the virtual.
So as he
Reality.
said, that he needs to go 4-hour drive and do something. Right? You know,
Something. Have lunch.
5 to 6 people, and it's lots of logistics side of it. So what we are actually doing is a remote assessment side of it. Then sending whole team with all the tools. We are just creating an environment to the community colleges, or somebody, for example, HVAC guy or electrician or a plumber, or maybe somebody inspirational energy auditor. He can cover 360-degree picture of it and send the data to us, and then we do analyzing of it. So we're creating a virtual reality side of it. We're also using that in terms of virtual reality, augmentation reality side of it, where we can simulate the stuff. So obviously, like I saw some of them from Air Force Base, they already have energy auditor or energy manager license, but now they want to practice that more in the virtual reality, where it's kind of a video game environment. We simulate the stuff, and they actually, like energy treasure hunt, they need to figure it out how and where it is. Right? So they are actually practicing energy auditing process. Maybe they want to do fresh water, they want to do commercial building, they want to do manufacturing side. We're building 15 different modules. 5 for manufacturing side, like bottling plant, like the food processing side. And we change as a teacher, I can change the exam by different setup. It's like air leak, maybe I say purposely the window is broken, or maybe lights are gone, the air compressor is not working. They need to go around. So we are creating that as a curriculum development and using that as a tool to test them. Rather than taking them to the real site, that's more convenient, safe, and faster. And then we can test them. In reality, in real world, it's very hard to test them also. But in this world, you can be able to test. So that's basically a couple of things as a 5-year plan we are rolling out as a tangible outcomes. So we are changing the way conventionally we are doing it to the new generation, adopting the new technologies available in that. Many of the times, like writing a report is a big stuff, but nowadays, like ChatGPT world, writing a report is not that hard. But using your information in very proper manner, for example, if he wants to apply for USGA grant, want to apply for DOE grant. Once my report is done, or once the app says something, you just hit the button saying, I want to apply for this grant. The output is given you as a grant application. Being a more technical stuff. And we endorse that, saying that it's a design by us, there is very less chance of error, which can execute the process faster. That's a couple of things we are rolling out. And as you are connecting with us in the future, you will see so much activities on that side. I won't ever go on you with all of the stuff. We planning to show something, but then we said like, let's keep it as a
Keep it in.
level.
Yes,
Maybe we have a
Let's start.
story we can show.
yeah, look for that.
Maybe even see some-
Well, the other thing, you did ask about the grants and stuff, so here in Munich, that's why Dr. Mackey's with us, but they have programs through the ERDA. Ponca City does as well, through the Ponca City Development Association, they've got some things as well. NOC, of course, we're in people's backyards, because we're in Tonkawa and we're over here, and I've got students on both campuses. So that we're available to help with that. And we're also talking to what the companies need. These micro credentials are gonna be, well, what do people really need for your own businesses? Do you need somebody who, you know, what kinds of things maybe a utilities manager is gonna wanna look at, or, you know, what kinds of checklists might be helpful, so that we can provide those as well, so. And so you're gonna see more workshops, we're planning on, you know, at NOC as part of the grants, we're trying to do 4 workshops a year. And this was our first one, so, whether we're gonna do them virtually on Zoom or those kinds of things, that'll be out there. And maybe it's a case of we do one in Ponco, we do one in the different communities, and it's just been, City Bean has just been really, really helpful. We
Yes.
appreciate.
And we've got several audits in it, so
Yeah.
we appreciate that as well.
If you read the bottom line, it says, build a collaborative center where all can participate, contribute and prosper, right? So it's not just my goal or your goal, it's everyone's goal, everybody needs to participate, and then basically achieve what we have done. So, thank you for being here, everybody.
Yes,
Sharing your
definitely.
efforts.
Thank you.
Everybody.
And that's all we have, but you're welcome to, if you have a follow-up questions or you want to talk about something offline, then stick around and we'll answer your questions.
Thank you all for coming,
you.
greatly appreciate it, especially in December, with everything else.
And there's
The
our-
holidays, the school, all of it.
And take a cookie.